Liquid Times. Zygmunt Bauman. In this insightful work, Zygmunt Bauman explores how accelerating change and global uncertainty are transforming our lives. He argues that as social structures rapidly dissolve, individuals bear new risks and fears. Traditional politics loses power to global forces, fueling insecurity. Bauman calls for reason and morality to regain influence at the planetary scale. Only global solidarity, he suggests, can reduce the uncertainty we collectively face in our turbulent world. If you enjoy my videos and find value in what I share, I kindly ask you to support the channel by hitting that like button and subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it would mean the world to me. Thank you. Chapter 1. Liquid Modern Life and Its Fears. The chapter begins by stating that in the developed world, major interrelated changes have created an unprecedented situation for individual life pursuits. Firstly, there has been a shift from solid to liquid modernity. Social structures that limited choices and provided stability have melted away faster than new ones could form. This means forms and structures cannot serve as frameworks for long-term strategies. Secondly, power and politics are divorcing. Power to act effectively has moved away from the nation-state to uncontrollable global forces, while politics remains local. This makes power a source of uncertainty, while politics becomes less relevant. Thirdly, communal protections against individual misfortune have retreated. Solidarity is difficult, and individual exposure to markets causes division, not unity. Society is now seen as a matrix of connections, not a structure. Fourthly, long-term thinking and planning has collapsed. Life is spliced into short-term projects without sequence. Focus is lateral, with each step needing new skills and arrangements. Fast forgetting of outdated habits is key. Fifthly, individuals now bear responsibility for managing uncertainty. There are few rules and emphasis is on flexibility. Abandoning commitments and pursuing opportunities is encouraged over following preferences. These shifts have modified life's challenges and how lives are lived. The chapter does not provide definitive answers, since that would be premature, but it will explore causes of uncertainty, a key obstacle to comprehension and control. A major issue today is the fullness of the planet, global reach of markets and modernity. This blocks old outlets for disposing of human surplus, while new societies lack them. Modern modes of life now produce surplus humans with no external dumping sites. Responses like war and crime worsen problems. Refugees have no refuge. Another issue is the divorce of power and politics. Power in global space lacks politics, while politics remains local. This leaves nation-states weak and fearful. The chapter concludes that the reunion of power and politics must be at the planetary level. Injustice from negative globalization brews conflict. Progress now means keeping up, not improvement. But better lives require global cooperation. Reason must re-seize power on a planetary scale for humanity to reduce uncertainty. Chapter 2. Humanity on the Move. The chapter starts by recalling Rosa Luxemburg's idea that capitalism depends on non-capitalist sectors, but destroys them in its expansion. Today, capitalism has exhausted its global frontiers and outlets. Modernity's waste now overwhelms the planet's absorptive capacities. Luxemburg foresaw capitalism would die from lack of new domains to conquer. But capitalism may now choke on waste, humans made redundant by its triumph. New outposts only add to the masses of wasted lives. Latecomer societies lack old outlets like colonies, but retain modernity's wastes. The fullness of the planet has two consequences. Firstly, old outlets for human surplus are blocked. Developed countries exported surplus humans but now confront their own waste. Latecomers never had such outlets, so face excessive populations without global solutions. Secondly, boundaries are now asymmetrical, closed to entrance but permitting exit. Rich core zones protect themselves against poor external ones. Latecomer societies are newly disrupted by economic change and surplus humans. In old centers, this occurred gradually with outlets available. Developed zones now refuse burden sharing while forcing change. Latecomers also lack historical outlets, so resort to horrific measures like mass killing of youth. Rich zones increasingly confront the redundant classes they once exported. Lines blur between temporary redundancy and permanent waste. All see redundancy as a potential fate, swinging between poles of utility and waste. The irreversibility of today's exclusions fuels despair and resentment. The chapter argues these problems arise from modernity's global triumph. Partial solutions like refugee camps are inadequate and inhumane. Positive globalization is required, with reason and morality at the planetary scale. This alone can reduce uncertainty and inhumanity in our world of closed frontiers. Chapter 3: State Democracy and the Management of Fears. The chapter observes that ambient fears and security obsessions have grown most in developed societies, which are among the most secure in history. Freud saw human suffering arising from nature, bodily frailty, and inadequate social regulations. We accept limits on taming nature and mortality, but we expect to perfect social arrangements, so inadequacy suggests malice by hidden enemies. Similarly, Castell sees today's insecurity arising from unclear protections despite their proliferation. Insecurity results from believing full security is possible. Its absence implies willful denial, not natural limits. Insecurity stemmed originally from modernity dissolving old social bonds before new protections existed. Individualization overvalued autonomous selves, but left them vulnerable. Fear of inadequacy arose. The modern state aimed to manage this fear. Where old social webs frayed, new collective protections developed, like welfare, healthcare, schooling, workplace regulations, and unions. T.H. Marshall saw rights progressing from personal to political to social, enabling freedom. But only full rights prevent poverty subjugating political participation. Social rights actualize political ones. Beveridge aimed for collective insurance to supplement individual responsibility. This required political rights to achieve social rights. But globalization now erodes state protections before new ones emerge. Power shifts to global capital. Politics remains local. This disempowers states, leaving people exposed and fearful. Second, deregulation has not brought new protections. Responsibility devolves to individuals amidst global forces. Inadequate individual powers generate anxiety and anger. Fear is managed poorly, displacing tensions towards scapegoats like immigrants. The state retreats to basic roles like security, but this cannot resolve underlying social fractures. Collective action to tame globalization is required. Reason must reclaim power over global forces to reduce uncertainty. Chapter 4: Out of Touch Together. The chapter observes how cities once provided security, but now often feel dangerous. Densities of interaction that define urban areas also concentrate insecurities. Cities now divide along lines of resource access. Ancient cities had walls against threats. Today, dangers are internal, amongst the mix of strangers within. For city dwellers, proximity of unknown others is a perpetual source of uncertainty and latent aggression. Fear seeks outlets onto targets like immigrants. In cities, boundaries between us and them are redrawn to unburden anxieties. But this only provides temporary relief as underlying forces continue. The global elite increasingly disconnect from local contexts. Virtual contact enables physical withdrawal into securitized enclaves. This abandons the poor in decaying districts, fueling divisions. But the elite still require meaningful identities, found through physical settings. Disconnections are often exaggerated, as the rich remain tied to local sites despite transnational lives. The key dynamic is the clash of global forces and local identities within cities. Residents seek shelters and similarities, but diversity drives innovation. Tensions recur as boundaries are negotiated. With nation-states weakened, urban politics bear impossible burdens. Cities cannot solve global problems locally. An inward obsession with physical safety develops, displacing deeper issues. Cities once managed fears collectively. Today, individualized solutions like gated communities proliferate, but homogenization breeds intolerance as interaction fades. Progressive planning is required. Cities are laboratories for harmonious diversity, but Festung Europa migrants reveal dark trends of fear and exclusion. Reason must reclaim power over global forces to reduce uncertainty. The planetary scale is critical. Chapter 5: Utopia in the Age of Uncertainty. The chapter explores how utopian dreams persist despite claims of their demise. Utopias represent imagined better worlds, attainable through human reason, but only modernity enabled systematic utopian thinking. Pre-modern life lacked a conception of radically transforming the world through human design. Utopian thought required a felt inadequacy in reality, combined with confidence in reshaping it. This arose as modern accelerations dissolved traditional certainties. Thinkers like Thomas More responded with orderly utopian dreams, though acknowledging their impracticality. Later, optimism enabled bolder visions, but attempted utopias often failed, fueling cynicism. Today, utopia connotes fanciful impossibility. With global capitalism triumphant, systemic change seems unfathomable. Utopian dreams are privatized into individual escapes, yet utopian impulses persist, displaced into everyday consumption, lifestyles, and identities. Perpetual novelty creates endless dissatisfaction, making utopia a moving target of endless chaste desires. Where pre-modern utopias promised a stationary endpoint, late modernity offers only ceaseless pursuit. Progress is now escaping the latest crisis, not achieving the good life. Stability becomes reactionary. With collective projects paralyzed, only the privileged mobile elite seem at home in fluid modernity. For most, precarity reigns. Capitalism co-opts dreams into consumerism. Daily life is fragmented and drained of meaning. But utopias once encoded consensual hopes, not individual fantasies. People need coherent narratives about shared predicaments and ideals. Even false dreams shape collective action, settling instability. Reason must reclaim utopian imagination from mythic nightmares of sectarianism. Global diversity requires cosmopolitan ethics beyond tribalism. Planetary consciousness alone can reduce uncertainty. Utopias express the human craving for belonging and recognition. These desires recur despite repression. Mastering collective fate remains imperative. With global interdependence, our dreams must encompass humanity.